This is Maximus Confesses, and for my first video I'm going to do a basic introduction to Christian apologetics, which is the art of providing a defense of the Christian faith. This video will cover 3 topics. The first topic will be what apologetics ought to be for those of us who do want to engage in the discipline, and the 2 others are more educational in nature. The second one will be types of apologetical approaches, and the third one will be the areas of apologetics. Now, on to our first topic. What apologetics ought to be. Considering that apologetics is the art of defending the Christian faith, then we should treat this in a normative manner. We should treat this in a manner in which we have to strive for an ideal. Ideally, an apologist should be honest and charitable. Honesty means to be quite frank with one's doubts, so that one can be quite open with the doubts of others, and to show understanding and build a connection. Charity involves making sure that our opponents deliver the strongest arguments they can against our position, so when we address their arguments, they'll know we take it seriously. For more on the principle of charity, I would direct you to carneades.org. I consider it quite a shame that some apologists, not naming any names, have to resort to dishonest and uncharitable tactics. This is something I really hope to avoid. Now, on to more of the educational stuff with the background of apologetics. Stephen B. Cohen, editor of 5 Views of Apologetics, categorizes apologetics into, well, 5 categories based on their approaches with non-believers. They are classical apologetics, evidential apologetics, cumulative case apologetics, presuppositional apologetics, and reformed epistemological apologetics. For the purposes of this video, I will disregard apologetics based on reformed epistemology as a distinct form of an apologetical approach, and regard it more as an epistemology in relation to the Christian faith that can be put to work in really any other apologetical approach. While I do plan on making a future video on the topic, for now the other approaches are what I will be focusing on. The first type of apologetic to discuss is the one that's most common. It's going to be classical apologetics. Classical apologists have a 2-stage model of defending and propagating the Christian faith. First, the classical apologist proves the existence of God, and then proves the resurrection of Jesus Christ based on historical attestation. They place a lot of emphasis on natural theology in order to first prove God, and then they place secondary emphasis on historical evidence in order to prove the resurrection and hence provide a rational basis for the Christian faith. Examples of classical apologists include historically Thomas Aquinas and William Paley. Popular examples include William Lane Craig, Peter Kreeft, and John Lennox. Examples on YouTube include Vassal of God and Inspiring Philosophy. The next school of apologetics is evidential apologetics. If classical apologetics is a 2-stage model, evidential apologetics is a 1-step solution to disbelief. Rather than seek to first establish the existence of God and then provide the historical evidence, the evidentialist uses the historical evidence as both proof for the existence of God and the truth of the Christian faith. Here there is less emphasis on natural theology and more on the historical evidence. Historic examples of evidential apologists include G.K. Chesterton and F.F. Bruce. Popular examples include Gary Habermas, N.T. Wright, and J. Warner Wallace. And examples on YouTube are Tecton TV and Baldy the Limey. The next form of apologetics is cumulative case apologetics. Rather than posit a series of logical arguments to reach a final conclusion confirming Christianity, cumulative case apologetics posits that Christianity best explains our experiences within the world as opposed to any other worldview. It seeks to compare and contrast instead of proving itself from the bottom to the top. Historical examples of these types of apologists include C.S. Lewis and Elton Trueblood. Popular examples include Richard Swinburne and Timothy Keller, and your example on YouTube shall be yours truly. The last school to discuss is presuppositional apologetics. Presuppositions are beliefs that we take as necessary for rational thinking, like believing we are not in the matrix and believing in our own existence. These beliefs need not to be justified prior, but are required in order for us to have rational thoughts. Presuppositional apologetics takes the truth of Christianity to be such a proposition. This form of apologetics first assumes the truth of Christianity and then proceeds to provide an internal critique of rivaling viewpoints. By doing this, the presuppositionalist verifies the veracity of Christianity by showing how well it is equipped to test false views and exemplify the faith from a more defensive angle. Historical examples include Cornelius Van Til and R.J. Rushdoony. Popular examples include Scott Oliphant, John Frame, and James White. And examples on YouTube are Jimmy Stevens and Jason Peterson. Please note, I only use these apologists as examples, that is, all of them that I listed. This doesn't mean I endorse any of them, but their YouTube and their websites can be found on the description link below for further exploration. Now that the different schools of apologetics have been listed, we now move to areas of apologetics in which apologists specialize in. The three categories here are biblical apologetics, scientific apologetics, and philosophical apologetics. Biblical apologetics. This area focuses on defending the Bible from outside criticism. The area need not only focus on protecting the doctrine of inerrancy, the notion that the Bible has within it no errors, but just protect the Bible from being criticized by non-believers who utilize Scripture as a vehicle to attack the Christian faith as a whole. So one could participate in biblical apologetics without holding to inerrancy. The next area is scientific apologetics. Since some skeptics utilize arguments from science to formulate criticisms against Christianity, those who are engaged in this area of apologetics participate in gaining the relevant scientific information as a way of formulating responses and even giving scientific arguments for the faith. While this is generally applied to the hard sciences, soft sciences like history and anthropology can also count as such examples here. The last area of apologetics is philosophical apologetics. This area of apologetics extends to Christians who use the discipline of philosophy to formulate arguments using the writings of moral, epistemological, and metaphysical philosophers in responding to the philosophical objections to Christianity from non-believers, or in making philosophical arguments for the belief itself. With all this said, this brings my video to a close. Be sure to check out my other channel, Max Hangs Out, and please feel free to check out my blog. My latest article is on David Hume and Mike Huckabee and the conservative tradition. Thank you for listening.